Hi everyone, welcome to my Toronto Maple Leafs season preview. We're going to start in net where the Leafs made their big offseason splash acquiring Jonathan Bernier from the Los Angeles Kings for Matt Frauden, Ben Scrivens, and some picks. Now, you'd think that when you acquire a highly touted goalie like Bernier, you'd make him your opening day starter, but that's not the case. Last year's starter, James Reimer, will get the opening start in Montreal. You have to wonder how much of a distraction this will be for the Leafs going forward. If Reimer struggles, and the pressure will be on with Bernier waiting in the wings. Defensively, captain Dion Phaneuf is in his final season of a contract. Expect him to be looking to get a big time extension, especially with the Leafs just extending Phil Kessel for 8 years and $8 million a year. Phaneuf's currently making $6.5. He's not going to take a pay cut, so his play can be it's going to be up to another level that you might not have seen before. That could lead to him going out of his way to go after a big hit, or it could lead to him playing a more disciplined game. We'll have to wait and see. And they get the late signing of Cody Franson in training camp. The RFA is in camp. Expect him to be a good second pairing guy. Mark Fraser, they avoid arbitration with him. Good third pairing guy who will block shots, take the body fight. Not a guy who's going to score you 5 goals, but a guy who will do everything that most people don't want to do. We move down the line, and you got Jake Gardiner, who is highly touted, but has never really been able to stick with the Leafs full time. He's been up in between the Marlies and the Maple Leafs for the past few years. Well, they sent John Michael Lyles to the Marlies with his big salary, as this team is close to the salary cap. Excuse me. They've decided to keep former 5th overall pick Morgan Rielly on the roster. However, with him not being in the opening day lineup in Montreal, I expect him to be back with his WHL team after a few weeks. Excuse me. And really, the defenseman to watch would be Carl Gunnarsson. He just got a friendly extension, but would that be a contract they look to move because of their Leafs cap room problems, and maybe expect more from Paul Ranger, who 5 years ago was very good in Tampa Bay, but then had some personal reasons and had to leave the NHL. So it's very interesting to see what the Leafs might do, what the options GM Dave Nomas has. We go to the forwards, and they have a premier goal scorer in Phil Kessel, who just signed an 8-year, $64 million contract that he's going to have to live up to, or the fans in Toronto are going to be all over him for eating up 12% of their salary cap. As we look at their other big offseason moves, it was trading for Dave Bolland and re-signing Tyler Bozak and signing David Clarkson from the Devils. Clarkson will miss the first 10 games after he left the bench to get in a fight in one of the last preseason games with Buffalo, but he should add a good second line, physical power forward when he's back in the lineup near the end of October. As for Dave Bolland, it's a player I really like, a very good two-way player who can kill penalties. You can put him out there really in any situation. Not a guy who's afraid to get dirty. He can also score you some nice goals. Well, Tyler Bozak isn't really a number one center, but has great chemistry with Phil Kessel, and that's what really got him the big contract. Kessel's roommate. Now we go down to maybe Brian Burke's best trade in his tenure before he was fired. That was trading Luke Schenn for James Van Riemsdyk, who saw a major improvement in his play in his first year in Toronto. I expect him to continue his play as he's still very young. He's only 24 years old. Expect him to get better. He's just hitting his prime, so we'll see what he can do. Others on the Leafs roster to note are Nazem Kadri, who's we're going to see if he can continue his success he had last season over a full 82 game season. And really, the Leafs haven't made it the playoffs after an 82 game season in over a decade. So can they sustain success over a full season? You look at other question marks in the Leafs offense. Nikolai Kulemin, last year of his contract, he was a 30-goal scorer, and now he's down in the teens. So you have to wonder, is this his last year in Toronto? But really, for the Leafs, they should be a playoff team again. It's a very tough division, but I expect them to get out of it. I expect them to finish somewhere in the 6 to 7 range in the East. I just don't think he can rely on that defense core. It's not great with Dion Phaneuf as your number one defenseman. He hasn't played that well in several years and hasn't been a number one defenseman since he came to Toronto, and he still have big questions in net. So that's my preview for the Toronto Maple Leafs.